and I'll be happy to share this recording as well with all of you after this session. So the emotional intelligence skills will help us to perceive, understand, express, and reason, and manage the emotions with ourselves and also with others. So by applying emotions intelligently, it helps us to achieve our desired results, and results both, of course, in ourselves, but also in others. So emotional intelligence helps us to, and helps those around us by us using emotional intelligence to make decisions in the way they behave. So how they come across to others and how they react, and also performance. And during today's session, it's going to be a highly practical session, and we're going to also engage in some activity. And we will also see this. But if we were to stick a pencil in one eye and another pencil in your ear, and do not do this at home, neither at work or anywhere else, and this is just for explanation, you will, where the two pencils touch, will hit the reptile brain, our what we call amygdala. This is the part of the brain which was first developed and is also present in reptiles as well. That's why we call it the reptile brain, which is the fight or flight mode, which makes us react to whatever happens to us. So what happens is there is a stimulus, and this stimulus makes us react in some way. So it triggers our emotional brain, either telling us that this is possibly a danger or a threat, or else it could be a reward. Generally, we engage, of course, more on rewards, and we all like to have an element of reward. So if I were to say that we were sitting on our sofas, relaxing, watching TV, very comfortable in our comfort zone, we'll probably try to find or keep away from doing anything else and resist any temptation of getting off the sofa and out of our comfort zone, because that's our reward. We're comfortable. We're really comfortable there. We also, of course, have another part of our brain, definitely, which has continuously kept on evolving, and that is our thinking brain. And this is what helps us to do things with reason. So whereas the emotional brain makes us do the fight or flight mode, and if something were to happen, we're going to see, I've actually seen some videos recently of parents, saving their children, just at the flick of a moment. But I also saw one video where someone saved a glass of champagne instead of the child. Of course, it might have been the most important thing at that point in time. That is where maybe our thinking brain kicks in. So everything we do in life is based upon our brain's determination to minimize danger and maximize rewards. So here, minimizing threats and maximizing rewards is how our brain is organized to work. So if we were to focus on the aspect of emotional intelligence and why it is becoming so important, there's an article in the Harvard Business Review related to AI and the rise of AI. And we know that whilst AI is possible and it's happening and it's all around us, there are many things that AI will not be able to do. And that is why our role as humans is so much important, because we can feel, we can understand, we can motivate human beings. And these are things which is possible AI will not do. So this makes our role in leadership role much more relevant, of course, and much important. Also keep in mind that we need to constantly focus on this aspect of emotional intelligence, because it is going to be, if you like, at the forefront, and is going to distinguish us and keep us sort of active in our roles. There's also another very interesting study by Capgemini. There's a Capgemini report. And this report was conducted by over 750 participants or surveyed people in this research, where they have realized that the importance of emotional intelligence, especially in the next 1 to 5 years, this is going to definitely be a must-have as a skill. And when you look at people in leadership positions, this is what distinguishes the high performance companies, the high performance managers compared to the low performance managers. So the way people feel determines how they engage. So if we are feeling reactive, it's probably coming from an element of anxiety. If we are stressed, we'll come across as aggressive. If we're fearful, we're probably going to be blaming others and pointing fingers. If we feel we're victimized, then we're going to be defensive. And these all help us to, if you like, put ourselves in a cautionary position where we are protecting ourselves. And this, of course, is very visible even more now, especially with the COVID situation, where people can be stressed, people are worried about possible loss of work, etc. So we're constantly cautious and a bit maybe more on the element of being at edge. So the way we show up determines the way people feel. So probably you have realized that if you are positive and you come to work positively, then you're going to pass on this positivity to others. And you might have seen this coming to you as well. On the other hand, if we are angry about something or other, something has happened throughout our day, possibly this is going to affect people around us as well. And another study has shown this. This study was done in high performance workplace and low performance workplace. And they realized that there was a link, a correlation between positive feelings and productivity and negative feelings and unproductivity. And here in this graph, we're seeing, so to say, a more pregnant form in the blue, and the blue is the high performance workplace, showing people feel more valued, people are proud, optimistic, and cheerful at the place of work. Whereas in a low performance workplace, the graph is pregnant maybe like on the other side. So people are more anxious, they're worried, depressed, they feel inadequate support, also fearful, so this doesn't help us. So let's get into the active part of this webinar. And if I could ask you to bring out a pen and a paper and draw a line in the middle of your paper. So where you have a right-hand side and the left-hand side. Bear with me because there were two people in the waiting room, and just let them in. So once you've done that and you have your paper, I'd like you to think of the best boss you've ever worked with. So think of the best leader, the best manager you've ever had in your career so far. And I'd like you to write the initials on the right-hand side. It could be the initials, the name. This is a paper you're going to keep just for yourself, just to recall this person in mind. And once you do that, we're going to go through 6 questions. These 6 questions are going to go through, so to say, 6 different competencies. And we're going to rate this individual at this stage. So let's start off with the first question. And the first question I'm going to give you, I'd like you to rate this person that you have in mind on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the lowest score. So this person shows up significantly less than others, so well below average. 5 meaning this person shows up well above average and is very consistent and is constantly doing this thing. 3 is the typical, anyone in between. So this would be the average type of person, okay? So let's start off with the first question. This person you have in mind demonstrates awareness of their mood and emotions. So we can say if they are fully present at the place of work, they're constantly engaged, they know what is happening, and are aware of how their moods and emotions affect others. If you feel this person is rated very highly and comes across as more than the average, you would score a 5. If, on the other hand, this person is disconnected, living in a, let me say, so to say, world of his own or her own, then it would be significantly less than others and does not care about how his or her mood affects others. So here you would score a 1, at 3, anything in between. Let's go for the next question. Makes others feel appreciated. So this person is empathetic towards others. This person is constantly tapping people on the back and telling them, well done for a job they have done correctly. If this is the more than average, and you'd score a 5. If this person does not give a hoot about the work people has done, does not appreciate others, then you would score a 1. If it is the typical, you would score a 3. Let's go for the next question to rate this person. And we'll be having 6 questions in all. Is open and honest about mistakes. So this person apologizes when he does a mistake, owns up to his or her mistakes, and is very consistent in doing this. Then you would score a 5. This person, does not care about his mistakes, blames other people on his or her mistakes. You'd score a 1. Anything in between, you'd score a 3 if this person would be the typical type of person. Number 4, makes ethical decisions. You'd score again from a scale of 1 to 5. Is this person expansive? Is constantly making ethical decisions? Is constantly looking at what's happening around him or her and ensuring ethical decisions are at most important? Or is this person limited, and changes the goalpost as required by him or herself to make themselves feel comfortable? Then you'd score a 1. The 5th question, manages their emotions effectively in difficult situations. So this person is resilient. So this person will not scream and shout and make a big show if something goes wrong during the day. Then you'd score a 5. If this person then, on the other hand, would, bang and do some sort of commotion, then you'd score 1. Anything is typical, so would score a 3 or anything in between. Number 6, and the last question for this part is recognizes others' hard work and achievement. So this person is an inspiring performer. He's constantly empowering others. Then you'd score a 5. If this person is indifferent to others' work and achievements, then you'd score a 1 and 3, anything in between. Now I'd like you to total up these scores and put a total. Here you'd probably have a total of anything between 6 and 36 being the maximum score. Let me give you and allow you some time to do this. So I'd like you to think of words, feeling words. How did this best boss make you feel? Write 1, 2, or 3 words or more, of course, on how this person made you feel. Let me give you and allow you 20 seconds for this. Let's focus on the element of engagement now. How well did your best ever boss engage you? So were you ready to go above and beyond? Or were you utterly disengaged? This time we have a score rating of 1 to 10. 10, you were highly engaged, you were ready to go the extra mile and do whatever it takes in an area. And 1, you would have kept back doing the least possible work that you needed in order just to come by. And 5, anything in between. Okay, and I'll be later on during the session, I'll be asking for your scores and your feedback on this. Let's shift now to the worst boss. So think of the worst boss you've ever worked with and write the initials now on the right-hand side. I believe you've written the others on the left, so now write on the right. And right, this is the worst boss, okay? And write their initials. And we're going to do the same exercise for this worst boss you've ever worked with. So let's start off on the same scale, okay, with the same questions. So question 1 demonstrates awareness of their mood and emotions. So this person was very present, was aware and conscious of their mood and emotions. You'd score a 5. If this person was totally disconnected, did not care about how his or her mood and emotions affected others, then you'd score a 1 or anything in between. Makes others feel appreciated. So was this person empathetic towards others? Then you'd score a 5. Or was this person insensitive to others? And you'd score a 1 or anything in between that rating. Let's go for the next question. Is open and honest about their mistakes? Was this person genuine about their mistakes and was honest and owned up to mistakes? Or was this person untrustworthy and tried to hide behind any mistakes or tried to blame others on their mistakes? You'd score a 1 in that case, or anything in between. Number 4 on ethical decision making. So did this person make ethical decisions, or ethics did not exist whatsoever for this person? So you'd score a 1 in that case, or a 5 if this person was ethical in their decision making. Number 5, manages their emotions effectively in difficult situations. How did this person manage their emotions? Were they resilient or were they temperamental and let the emotions get the better side of them? Number 6, the last question, recognizes others' hard work and achievement. Was this person empowering or was this person indifferent to people's hard work and achievement? So I'd like you to total these scores and draw a line, just like you did previously for the other person you had in mind. Once you do that, let's think now on the feelings that this person has left you. So write 1, 2, or 3 feelings in the next 20 seconds. How did this person make you feel? What were the feelings? That this person left on you? Now let's think of engagement towards this person. How engaged were we to work with this person? Were we highly engaged? You'd score anything between 8, 9, or 10 perhaps. And we were ready to go the extra mile for this person and do whatever it takes to get the job done. Or on the other hand, we would have done the least possible just to come by and just to get the job done. So once you've given a rating, let me go in a few more case studies here. And then I will ask you very soon for your feedback on this activity. So another business case on emotional intelligence, I've noticed that Colin as well has put his hand up, and I'll come back to you later on, Colin, to answer any question or query or take any feedback you'd like to give to us. So there was a business case where there were 2 trained groups. This was a sales organization and people were trained. So a group of 40 people were trained in emotional intelligence. The other group were not trained, and they kept the visibility of these 2 groups and the results. Over a period of time, they noticed that the trained group on emotional intelligence achieved an average of 12% increase of performance in sales over their peers. So this, in this case, was equivalent to 55K sales for 40 people. So that results to about 2 million in sales per month in this particular situation. So it was noticed also in the sales aspect, so how people came across. From the leadership aspect, it is also in another study that was conducted where leaders who were or scored very highly in emotional intelligence achieved higher engagement. So showing that, let me just get my pointer out. All these leaders scoring over 75% had most of their team engaged, whereas any other leaders who scored lower than 75 had lower engagement and lower engagement scores. So what we mean by engagement is people who are engaged are ready to go the extra mile and do whatever it takes to achieve results and be productive and maintain a high performance workplace. Not engaged means they probably will do as much as they need to get their job done, but they will not go the extra mile, definitely, and they will do maybe the least possible. The actively disengaged, I can probably describe these as those people who will do whatever they can to break whatever is working in your organization. Okay. So in today's day and age, especially with remote work and remote situations, it is very difficult to cultivate a high performance workplace and maintain this, but emotional intelligence is definitely a support to help you to achieve this. Research also shows that people with high level of emotional intelligence, it's associated also with better physical and mental health, development of the workplace relationships as well. So the manager maintains very positive workplace relationships at work, helping people cope with high demands and stress. So being or having a high level of emotional intelligence helps people to be more resilient. Increased also with levels of engagement and discretionary effort, which is going the extra mile and doing your utmost to achieve the results. Reductions in employee turnover and absenteeism. Increased in creativity and innovation. So what I offer through emotional intelligence is a wide range of assessment tools that are available on the market. And these are very actively designed and also are supported with development tips, which are included in the assessment, and customizable coaching and training. So these assessments, and we're going to go very soon into the activity that we're doing, consists of 42 items. So 6 skills with 7 items per skill, and each item shows how people perform at the workplace, either in a leadership aspect or also at the workplace. So these measure the behavior of that person and how they currently show up, but also how they should be showing up or how people expect them to show up. So this shows potentially a gap and that allows the person to identify areas of development. So it's just like being a mosquito in a nudist colony and you don't know where to start, which with so much skin to bite. But through these assessments, it allows you to focus on one or more specific areas and realize where is the gap. And this is not only done in numerical form, but it's also done in feedback as well, by people writing feedback specifically for the individual who will be conducting the assessment. So the way you show up determines the way people feel. The way you make people feel determines everything about your relationship and about the engagement at work. So how do we show up? Let's have a look now, and I'll ask you to use the chat box, the chat function, and write down your score. So I'd like you to start off with your best boss. So let's write good boss, and write the total score you gave your boss from those 6 questions that were asked. So here I'm expecting a score of anything between 6 and 36. And I'm seeing already scores coming up, 26, 22, 24. And I would expect these scores would be in the 20s. Of course, we might have some lower scores, but these are really good scores. And it's great that you have worked with some great leaders and managers. So let me ask you now to give the score for your worst boss ever. So write bad boss or bad, so we can make a distinction. And here we have 6, 12, 11, 8. Okay, some really, really low scores here. And I'm still seeing some further scores for good boss as well. Someone put 6, but they felt they could have even given a 0 as well. Thank you for sharing this, and I'm really sorry that you had this experience. Great, thank you for these scores. So let me ask you now about the feelings. So what were the feelings that you felt with your good boss? So write good and write the feelings, the positive feelings that you had from your good boss. Appreciated, willing student, smart, trusted, empowered. Okay, so these are great feelings that you had. Motivated, growing, yes, the opportunity to be able to grow, excellent. Competent, appreciated, these are great feelings. So let me ask you now to write down the feelings you had by your worst boss from the activity we have just done. What were the feelings? That dumb? Okay, Nina, thank you for sharing. Miserable, irritated, frustrated, angry. These are all very difficult feelings, very hard feelings. Stressed, and I, so to say, want to apologize for bringing out these feelings in you on a Friday evening, but I'm sure we can supplement this later with a glass of wine or beer. So let's focus now on the engagement score, starting off with your best boss. So write best and give me the score from 1 to 10 that you gave your best boss. How engaged were you with this best boss? 10, 8, 9. Okay, so some very high scores here. Excellent. And how about your scores for your worst boss? How engaged were you to work with your worst boss? 2. We have some minuses. We have 1. We have 3. Nina has marked 8 for her worst boss. It would be interesting to see in what context, or else possibly he wasn't so bad after all. But it could also be that we might have our value aspect. So we might still be engaged with our bad boss because we still want to ensure that we work to the best of our ability and not let other people around us affect us. And I'm really curious to find out, but I won't be asking you this question, of how long ago did you work with these people? Was it recent or was it a long time ago? Because from studies that I have seen, that people who have left a bad impact on us can also relate back to even half our lifetime ago. And there's this great, so a very long time ago, okay, the good boss 3 years ago. So, and it is also very possible that people who've worked with recently and had positive feelings, these will remember, but sometimes the bad feelings we keep on remembering for a longer time. So Maya Angelou has said this: people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So although, and I'm seeing someone 50 years, 25 years ago, okay, so it's been a long time. So you probably might not remember what they told you, you probably might not remember what they did, but you definitely remember the feeling that they have left, whether positive or negative in these instances. So what we have done with these two individuals is we've identified their demonstrated emotional intelligence. We are not rating any aesthetic aspects like how tall they are or how good looking they are, things which maybe they might, or the color of their eyes perhaps, and they have very little effect on these aspects, but things that they control. So we can all control the way we show up, the way we come across, and the feelings we left. So just to recap, the question I asked, demonstrating awareness of their good mood and their feelings. Here we were focusing on self-awareness and being present. So making others feel appreciated, awareness of others, is open and honest about mistakes. We're focusing on authenticity, makes ethical decisions, emotional reasoning, manages their emotions effectively in difficult situations, self-management, and recognizes others' hard work and achievement, inspiring performance. And In studies, we keep on reading that in our leadership position, it is very important that we are present, we are empathetic, we are genuine, we are expansive, we are resilient and empowering. And with just asking you one question, so whereas in the survey, if you were to do the assessment, you would be asked 7 questions for each and every one of these areas. We have managed to rate emotional intelligence for these individuals. So here it's not about knowing only the numbers, because of course this is part of it, being aware of how we show up. And most importantly, it's what we're going to do about it. So knowing that this is where we are at, and this is where and what we can achieve in order for us to continuously improve. So emotional intelligence is managing how people feel. So it's practicing self-awareness and choosing how we show up in every situation to get the best possible results and from the interactions with people. So it's not a new way of being and not doing. What it is observing, being there and learning and getting feedback from others. And then what are we going to do about it and how are we going to keep up this? So identifying what is not working for you and letting and looking at what could you do about it. And it's all a matter of practice after all. It's like, it's a cycle, you know, this is what I'm doing, these are the results I'm getting, this is what I could do differently, so let me improve on this, and constantly identifying ways of how you can do this. I believe there has been written on the shampoo bottles, it's rinse and repeat, you know, it's constantly putting the shampoo, rinsing and repeating, and this was their way of trying to ensure they continuously sell a good number of shampoo bottles. So thank you very much for your attention. This is me, Carl Grech, and I'm going to conclude and close off the slide part and open up for questions. Perhaps we could start off with Colin, and I'd leave Liesel to take this on and facilitate the conversation.
Thank you, Cole. Colin, do you have a question? Do you have a question, Colin?
Well, you know me, yes, can you hear me?
The sound's a bit bad, but I can try to hear you. Okay, we lost Colin.
Let me switch my video off and see if that's better. You know, I'm a nitpicker for numbers. Carl, you kept saying a total of 36, but that's a small thing. I have a much bigger question, if I may. Most people work for somebody else. You know, very few people are the ultimate boss. So how do you cope with it?
Sure, Colin, you've disappeared completely at the moment. I just know we have in South Africa.
Oh, have I?
Yes. Maybe type the question in the chat bar and then I will pose it to Carl. Okay. And then maybe we can quickly go to somebody else. Is there other questions that we have? Well, I have one while we wait for Colin's question to come through.
Sure, Lisa.
I would like to know, how difficult is it to improve your emotional intelligence?
That's a great question. And I think it's a matter of awareness. And this is what I think is most important. When we're aware of something, then we can do something about it. And I will give you one example. Quite some time ago, I was working in this organization. I was new there. And I went into a meeting. I was asked to attend this meeting. And I was engaged in the sense of following and seeing what was happening. But I wasn't very participative in my feedback or saying things because I was relatively new, so I wanted to get as much as I could. When I left the meeting, one person approached me and she told me, Carl, it seemed that you weren't agreeing with what was being said. How come you didn't say anything about it? I said, really? I said, what made you say that? as she said, your facial expressions gave you away. So many times that is something that I was not aware of before at that point in time. So this person, and I'm really thankful to this person, she brought to my attention that my facial expressions were giving away my feelings. Now, I'm not telling you hide your feelings, of course, but we are all very different. So some people are, so to say, poker face and they will not show their feelings, whilst others really let out their feelings completely, even in a physical sense. So I definitely don't have a mirror in front of me, so I'm not seeing how I'm looking. In a way, thank goodness for Zoom now, because I can see myself and I can see my reaction. So that is helping me as well. But that opportunity was taking feedback on and being able to do something about it. So being aware that it is likely that my facial expressions are giving something away, but also if I don't agree on something, then definitely that was an opportunity for me to say, let me, be truthful, let me sound and be a sounding board, and act as I'm required to. So this was, of course, quite some time ago, and I've learned from that. So many a times we have a number of things which we are not aware of. It's so to say, I can also refer to, but I don't want to be too technical today, what is called the Johari window. The Johari window splits in 4 separate areas. So at one box in this matrix, we know about ourselves, and this is what we know about ourselves. The other box brings in things that people see about us and we might not be aware of. There's another box showing that what are our things we know about ourselves, but other people do not know about us, and things we might maybe hide or hold close to our heart, which we do not want to share. And of course, there could be different reasons. It could be I'm going through some difficult time, either on a personal level, at home or at work, or whatever is happening. And it's something I'm not comfortable in sharing. Of course, keeping that in mind, we could know that if I am coming across to others as maybe closed off and not sharing my feelings, I know why that's happening, because I'm being protective and I'm, so to say, putting a bubble around myself. But then there is also an area of things that we don't know about ourselves and maybe others might not even see as well. So being aware and asking and getting feedback helps us to improve. I think at the least it's good to know about it, because that is something we're aware of. At best, we can do something about it to improve. And sometimes it could be very little things that make a big difference. But there could also be bigger things that we can say, let me tackle this, because if I tackle this, then it's possible I'm going to get improved results. It's also knowing that if I improve, then numbers speak for themselves. Productivity can increase, profitability will increase, sales will increase, it's quite a vicious circle. We mentioned absenteeism, lack of turnover of people, so it's maintaining people at the workplace, etc.
Wonderful, thank you for that. Okay, so Colin's question, it says you respect the organization but lack respect for your boss. How do you cope with this? Can you influence change in your boss, and if so, how?
This is a great question, Colin, and of course, it can take us in many different angles. So I think that's a great thing that you respect the organization. Of course, the lack of respect of your boss is going to make you more cautious on how you act. So you're going to be more controlled. Possibly you're not going to be able to share some aspects with your boss, and that might have some influence. So let me give you an example. When we are very relaxed, and it could be when we're having a shower, driving home from work, whatever we do to relax, it is possible that all these ideas start coming to mind, our different thoughts, and we can be more creative. On the other hand, when we are more stressed, then our creativity reduces because we are more cautious. So maybe when you had, and I'll bring to recall the bad boss experience, it's likely that you gave your least possible effort, or you were very cautious on what you did and how you did it to protect yourself and people around you. So it is likely that the organization is going to be impacted anyway. I tend to agree that honesty is the best policy. Yes, of course, it is not easy. And of course, here I I don't know everybody's situation. So I suggest you act with caution. But if you can find moments to be honest with your boss, tell your boss what's happening and how his effect is making you react, then it's, first of all, I think you're being helpful to your boss, although he might not see it there and then, and he might not even appreciate it. But you are giving feedback to this person. At best, he might realize what you're saying and realize maybe the impact of his actions or her actions, and possibly might decide to change. So I think, yes, it could influence, and you can influence your boss. Definitely, there's always that aspect of caution where I feel that we can change ourselves, we can change the way we react to others, we can be more cautious in different ways, but we cannot change other people. So that person, that boss needs to be ready to want to change first and foremost. I trust that answers your question, and feel free to add any further questions, Colin. Some other questions similar to Colin? I think we have Romina.
Yes, if I assume you can see that question, Cole?
Yes, here Romina is saying, so similar to Colin's question, but when you are honest, he ensures that he shows you the door, best is to leave. Yes, let me speak from my experience now. I have had various experiences, positive work-related experiences and not so positive work-related experiences. When I have had not so positive work-related experiences, I have found that I have been more stressed at work. I have given at least, I was very protective and wasn't able to be my best in different ways, from the emotional aspect, from, work aspect, etc. And I myself, of course, took the decision to move out of that organization because in at least one particular instance, I felt I could not do the change that was required. And yes, you can be an ambassador. Yes, you can help other individuals, but it takes time to change an organization, to change a culture. Of course, it could be not leaving the organization, but it could be trying to find further support within the organization and maybe finding a different position in the organization that already might help. I'm not telling people, I don't want to be misunderstood, to leave their organization, but be aware, yes, that if you're not happy, you're not going to give your best. And if I relate personally, this was one of my motivations to branch out on my own, because I felt I could be at best and in that liberty, and that is something I now really appreciate and I really enjoy as well, and also that flexibility of my time. But of course, not everybody is able to do it, and it's not everybody's ambition either to do. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so another question from Rumina, and she says, what about when your boss wants to take the credit for what you achieved and also affects payment of commission? I think this will be our last question, Cole.
Okay. You need to see if there's anybody else, especially in the aspect of the payment side. I'm going to point out here, anyone else you could speak to about this aspect. Of course, it doesn't help you to have that credit taken away from you, and we all like and enjoy the credit. And of course, it definitely helps us to be at our best. Deep down, when you know you have achieved that and it ticks the boxes for you, it can be enough. But of course, it hurts more when you see that it's affecting your payment and your pay structure. Because at the end of the day, we all go to work to receive some sort of remuneration, and this is going to help us at least to pay our bills, and at the best to have some money to spend and to look and safeguard our future as well. So try and see, Romina, if there's anything else you can do. And of course, feel free to reach out in person as well, Romina, if you like. What I will actually do is I will share my contact details in the chat for anybody to take note. And feel free to reach out to me via email, etc. And I'm here to support in any way possible, of course.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, I love Colin's comment that he says, yeah, it motivates him to change his boss. I think that is the most difficult thing to do. And nobody can be changed. You need to choose to change or it's not going to happen.
Yes,
So,
and of course, in this situation as well, changing position and moving or leaving your position, of course, do this with caution, you know. There might be situations, depending on the economy, depending on the business you're in, depending on the industry. Do not just leave, you know, for the sake of leaving because of someone else. If you can, try to fix things even better, of course. But do reach out around you and see who is there as a shoulder to lean on or an ear to listen to and help you out, you know. And sometimes even out of your organization, not necessarily within, just in order to help you to find the resilience to move on, whether on within your organization or something else.
thank you very much, Carl. I can go and ask you questions all day long. I don't think that's a good idea at the moment. But I love this topic and I think it's something that everybody can find value in. So I would like to hand over to David for a few last comments and then Carl can just, if he wants to close up for us, it would be perfect.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I was just in the process of typing in a question for Carl as to whether he'd ever tried this, not on best boss or worst boss, but best life partner and worst life partner. I think that could be a very interesting exercise to do and might bring quite a lot of business if you're a divorce lawyer and you didn't get your antenuptial contract right. But seriously, Carl, thank you very much indeed. That's incredibly revealing. It was fascinating watching the faces and the attention from people, which is one of the great advantages, of course, of Zoom. You can see whether your facial expressions are giving you away. No one went to sleep, I assure you. They all looked fully engaged and developed with them. But I did put a note in the chat bar, and remember, if you put anything, you need to save it before Liesel closes down, if you want it. But questions that would help myself and Liesel. The first one is, did you enjoy this? Did you find it of value? The second one would be, should we repeat it? Should we do more BNI business briefings in South Africa like this one? And the third one, I think, would be, would you like to hear more from Carl anyway? We won't necessarily share that with him, so you can be quite frank. But this was an experiment, as I said. We initiated it in Malta several months ago. It seems to work very well in a lockdown period, where it's a win-win situation. It's win for the people receiving it who aren't BNI members. It can be a win for BNI afterwards if they decide to join. That's a sort of give-us gain element. And if the speaker is good, like today, while they're not promoting their own business, they are enhancing their own reputation, and it can lead to more follow-up and more clients. So it looks a very positive approach as far as I can see. But let us know by either putting something in the chat or sending an email to myself or to Liesel, and we'll plan ahead on that basis. I did share with Carl and Liesel earlier that my intention, if we're getting a positive response, would be to contact Ivan Meisner over the weekend and ask him to do me a short video, which he's done in the past for various reasons, but one we could use as an introduction to sessions like this. So it would be very valuable if you could take a few minutes before Liesel closes off the chat bar to put in your thoughts. If not, contact us anyway and let us take it from there. And finally, handing back, Carl, that was superb. Thank you very much indeed. I think that we will get, looking at the expressions, a very positive response from that as to whether we should do more. I don't think they're going to say to me, "Futsak, go."
Thanks, David and Liesel, for this opportunity and bringing everybody together. Thank you all for attending, and I really appreciate your participation and your lovely comments. Definitely, I will reach out to you all and I'll send you a copy of this video. I did unfortunately recorded a little bit late, but it was only 1 or 2 slides later. So I'll share this anyway with you. Wish you all a very lovely weekend. Feel free to reach out if I can support you in any way. I'll be very happy to do that. And of course, maybe something we didn't mention, David, is next week we have International Business Networking event. So reach out to any area that you're currently living in, and do attend the BNI International Networking event. There's one happening here in Malta on the 2nd. Liesel, in your area, and any specific dates that something's happening?
Yes, we have an event on the 5th, so it's next week, Friday, and 10 o'clock in the morning. If you want, I can share some information about that with you by email for Carl and David.
Thank you.
Yes, that would be great. And going back to your question, David, I realized I missed out on it. It wasn't intentional. And yes, I'm sure emotional intelligence could be done in all areas of our life, not necessarily just at work, but also in our private life. I'm not sure I'm going to ask my wife to rate me, but I do try and get any feedback that I can from her in order to improve. And I have made adjustments along the way. Also realizing that, yes, I always constantly need to do that to be a better partner and a better husband.
It's always better in my experience to ask your dog to rate you, because they give you unconditional love.
I've just been thinking maybe we should ask our children and grandchildren to rate us. That might also give a very interesting feedback session over there.
Why not?
Close this topic down. Let me say, Totsi Talis van die Beste to you all.
Have a great weekend, and keep safe and keep well. And looking forward to the next session we can have together.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Carl
Thank you,
and
everybody.
David.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.